Hey, Marlena, you there? Or are you just lurking?
Can you hear me? Hi.
There, there you go. There you go.
I'm st- I'm still learning this beautiful function.
Yeah, it's taken me a number of weeks to like figure everything out as far as broadcasting this goes. So,
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're doing it.
thank
I
you.
appreciate
So, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Making it happen.
Yeah.
Just yeah, just getting my feet wet.
So, what's your story? What's your background, and what are you doing right now?
Well, my background is in hair and beauty, but I for about 25 years. So, and then I had to go into caregiving for my parents.
Hmm.
And yeah, now I'm trying to do something for myself.
Awesome.
I kind of went through different how can I say, presentations of this genre, but no one ever really made it where it was so clear to me that I really got it. It was
Mhm.
like, people, I guess people share how they could share it, whatever their interpretation is. But for me, it just never, no one ever told me how to get the contract under assignment. I never got that part
Mhm.
until recently.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. And it's kind of like you think, well, wow, I've wasted all that time just not knowing. But you live and you learn. I
Yeah,
keep
exactly.
learning.
As long as you're taking action, you're
Yeah.
not necessarily wasting time. So, are you in the Seattle area, or are you somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm in Bellevue. Bellevue.
Oh, okay, cool. All
Yeah.
right. So, what have you done up to this point so far? So, are you actively looking for deals, or what's
Well,
been
yes.
your journey so far?
Yes, I am actively looking, Rob, for deals. It's kind of coincidence that about a year, oh my mercy, quite a few years ago, I had rented a house and I went by there about 2 weeks ago and seen that it was available, but it was kind of worn down. And so I asked the agent to check it out for me and found out that it had been sitting for since 2018.
Mhm.
And so he got a number from somehow or another, he got a hold to the person and she said she wasn't interested in selling. But I asked him for the number because I thought, well, maybe I can share with her, that I lived there and my experience there and that, it was a nice experience.
Mhm.
And maybe I could have some kind of, build some kind of rapport with her. I don't know. Because I mean, why would you have it sitting for 4 years? I mean, you know,
Was it sitting on market for 4 years,
no,
or
it's off market. Yeah, it's off market.
okay, and vacant, you mean also?
Yeah, it's just you could tell that nothing has been done. It's pretty worn down. It's boarded up and everything.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I was going to ask you, how would you approach it if it's something you think, even though she told the agent she wasn't interested?
So what's the story with the seller? So the seller has this house
Yes,
and it's been vacant for a while now.
since 2018.
Dang, so it's been sitting there for 4 years with nobody living in it.
That's right.
And so the agent is somebody that you know that reached out to uh the owner.
Yes, he was able to find her number.
Okay. And what was the any idea what that conversation looked like between them? Did the agent ask if
Yeah, he just said that there was someone that was interested in, the property, and she said, "Well, no, I'm not interested." And he said she was kind of abrupt about it, so that was kind of a, you know, short conversation.
interesting? Okay. Yeah, so it could be, I mean, one thing could be that um, an agent reaching out directly to a seller could potentially put the seller off a bit, right? Because they could be like, oh, this is an agent, they just want a commission and they want to list my house, blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. But you reaching out directly as a buyer might be a different story, saying, hey, I actually used to live in this house. I'd be really interested in buying it. Like, what are your plans for it? I see it's been sitting here for a while now, and you're paying property taxes and insurance, and you got these costs that you're incurring on it. Would you be open to having a conversation about potentially selling it? Or I'd just start like, I'd leave the question open-ended, actually. I'd ask, what are your plans for this property? Because I'm looking for a property in Bellevue, and I actually used to live in this house, so I'm already very familiar with it. So, and that might be a way to help build rapport as well. But I would definitely, for like direct to seller stuff, I wouldn't get an agent in between you and the seller. If it's
Okay.
if it's an on-market deal, then yeah, you can have your agent work with listing agents, stuff like that. But the only time I would get an agent involved in a deal that's direct to seller is if that agent found the deal and knows the seller, and the seller doesn't want to sell it on the market. Then the agent can help facilitate that transaction and still earn a commission, and then you could potentially, wholesale that deal or
Well, I
buy.
just felt that I couldn't locate, I didn't have access to the MLS. I didn't know how to access the information for the seller.
Oh, so that's in the tax records. So there's a number of ways that you can do some detective work to find out who the seller or who the owner is on a deal. So you can go to the King County website, tax records, type in an address. It'll show you who the property owner is and what their mailing address is. And then from there, you could use something like True People Search to. And now this is the trick, is if they've got a very common name, then it's going to be hard to find their contact info.
Mhm.
But if their name is somewhat uncommon, you might get a short list of phone numbers then from True People Search that you could try and
Okay.
giving them a call. And then also, if they've got their mailing address, because that's where the taxes are going to go to, since they're not living in that house, they must have some other mailing address set up
Okay.
for that property. If they live in the area, you could just go knock on their door and say, hey, I really like your house that's been sitting there for a while. What are your, do you have any plans? Have you thought about selling, at all?
Right.
Uh,
Just go hardcore, huh?
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
might it definitely be better than having an agent call them up. I would be, if me as a seller or an owner, I'd just be like, oh God, somebody's like sees my property sitting vacant and wants to
Yeah.
list it. Sort of, right. And I'm sure
Right.
you're getting calls from agents anyway
Hmm.
on and potentially other investors, if it's been sitting there for a while. Is it in okay shape, or does it look like it needs
No,
some?
it needs some work. Like I said, it's been sitting there just going downhill.
Hmm,
So, it's
yeah,
kind of like, well, are they holding on for what? I don't know.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
but you're right. I guess I just didn't have I couldn't figure out another option but the agent. So for the quick time being.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So there's ways. And then another tool I use is called PropStream, and
okay.
it's basically just getting the data from the county website, but it's a pretty easy way to put an address in. You get to see who the owner is, the transaction history on the property, the mailing address of the owner, name, all that stuff. Doesn't give you their contact info, but then you can, use something like True People Search or another skip tracing service to
Okay.
find, try to find them.
What's it called? What was the second one?
PropStream,
Oh, I
PROPSTREA.
thought you said another one. I thought you said another one.
PropStream, True People Search.
Okay.
Yeah, True People Search is for finding the phone numbers. So you
Okay.
can do like a name and a city, And then it will give you, if it can find something, it'll give you some phone numbers back to,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm having trouble finding investors, cash buyers, Rob. I said if I come
Oh,
across that deal, I probably couldn't get it.
yeah, for sure. No, I got Bellevue. If the price is right in Bellevue, what neighborhood in Bellevue is it in?
No, I live in Bellevue. The
Oh, you live
property's
in
in,
Bellevue.
yeah, the
Oh, okay.
property's in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely got people buying in Seattle. I mean, there's buyers still buying right now for sure. There's more buyers buying now than 3 months ago.
Okay.
It like just totally dropped off at the end of the summer. A lot of buyers went to the sidelines when interest rates spiked up. And now buyers are starting to come back. Uh, and we're seeing a lot more offers than we were previously on our deals. So
Are you a buyer?
I am a buyer in some circumstances as well. Yes.
Okay.
Yep, for
So
sure.
how, but you saying that you know that they're out there, but how do I locate them? I mean, you know,
So Facebook is a good resource for sure.
oh, I've tried that. I put messages out there on all those pages
Yeah.
and nothing.
Yeah, so 99% of the people on Facebook will be tire kickers on any given deal.
Mhm.
But if you hang on to those people and then you follow up with them about subsequent deals, then maybe one of them works out. PropStream is another actually good source for finding buyers. If you want to get really into it, you could go to the foreclosure auction,
Okay.
and that there's buyers there because they're buying properties for cash or hard money, like sight unseen, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
if you have a deal and it's something where they could get into it to actually go view it, unlike the foreclosure where you can't get into those, and
Mhm.
you have it at a price that makes sense, definitely can find buyers there. So
How often are the auctions? Do you know?
what's that?
How often are the auctions? Do you
They're on
know?
Friday mornings.
Okay. And
Yeah.
where are they?
I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say the one for King County is at the courthouse downtown.
Okay.
It used to be in Bellevue, actually, when I went to them. That was like 10 years ago. It used to be in a
Okay.
parking garage at one of the office buildings
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah.
I hope
Um,
so. I hate going downtown to Seattle.
yeah.
Um, and one other last question, please, because I see other people are popping up. How do you set your price for your assignment fee? I never did get that part.
So what I try to do is I'll figure out like approximately how much work it's gonna be to fix the property up. And it's not any sort of exact science because every buyer has their own like scope of work that they wanna, of what they want to do to a property, what sort of finishes they want to put in. Is the property going to, and exit strategies, is the property going to be a flip or a rental? Somebody buying a deal as a rental, they're going to put, carpet in there, low end finishes potentially, right? They're going to try to do it as cheap as they can, versus somebody that's flipping a property, they're going to go with, a lot nicer things. So it's just a very general ballpark. So like, let's say, and then it depends on how bad the property, how bad of shape it is. Is a full gut, like tear everything out, or is it carpet paint and put it on the market sort of thing?
Mhm.
What I try to do is I try to price it in such a way that if somebody is flipping the property, that there's probably going to be about a 10% of the ARV as the profit to them after all their expenses. So not just the rehab, but also the holding costs for the hard money loans, the transaction taxes, closing costs, real estate commissions, like taking into account all that stuff. So if the property ARV is like 800, I'll try to price it so that there's like 80K profit for somebody flipping it after covering all that stuff. And if somebody can get it done cheaper, or they're an agent, so they don't have to pay the listing commission, then then they're going to end up making even more on that deal. But that's basically where I'll try to start it at. as far as the pricing goes. And then it's just like a matter of like how low are you able to negotiate then with the seller on that to determine what your fee is. So
Yeah, but aren't you also taking into consideration the buyers, how much they want? I mean, that's part I don't get.
yeah, so that's kind of what I'm saying is, so like, let's say it's an 800K ARV, right?
Mhm.
So pricing it in such a way that the buyer is going to make 80K profit when all is said and done, right? So then I got to figure out, okay, real estate commissions are going to be this much, hard money costs are going to be this much, approximate rehab budget is going to be this much, and then I can work backwards to see, like on an 800K property, like let's say the rehab is 150 on it, and then you got to account for all those other costs that the buyers have, then the purchase price of the buyer is probably going to have to be, right around 550, maybe.
Mhm.
Right. So then I know, okay, I can sell this thing for 550. I got to try to lock it up for something, less than that.
Okay.
So, and it's not exact science at all. Like the buyers might come in and take a look at the property and be like, you are way off on your rehab. Like that happens, buyers come
Mhm.
you're like, no, this is way more than 100K rehab that you're talking about here. And in which case you might have to go back if there's not enough room there and say, hey, with the seller, say, hey, like all the investors we're talking to are coming back and saying like, this is going to cost a lot more to fix up. So, we're going to need to do a price reduction if they're open to that. So,
So when you take the check, I mean, when you get a check from the seller and, the buyer, is your
Mhm.
money included with that when it goes to the title company? And then the title company disperse it into two different checks?
Mhm. Yeah. So like, let's say the purchase price is 550 to the seller or to the buyer. And let's just say you have it locked up at 525, right? So what will happen is you'll take your purchase and sale agreement, then you'll have an assignment agreement with the buyer. So your purchase and sale agreement will say you're buying it for 525, right? Your
Mhm.
assignment agreement with the buyer will say you're selling it to them for 550. You give both those documents to the title company. And then the title company says, okay, here's what's happening. We've got 550 coming in from the buyer, right? I know that 25K is going to go to you as the assignment fee, and then 525 is going to go to the seller for the sale price of the property. And so then everybody gets paid out of escrow. The title company will wire the money to the seller, and then they'll either wire or send you a check for that assignment fee. And then you also show up on the settlement statement. That assignment fee will show up on the settlement statement as well.
So my assignment contract goes also with the the buyer's information to the title company. Is that what you're saying? That we have that contract? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And so title company is very clear then to the title company exactly who's getting what and what's going on. Yeah. So
okay.
yeah, and that's very key as well, is to work with a title company that is familiar and very comfortable with doing wholesale transactions, because not all title companies are either familiar with them, or some title companies just don't do them, period.
If you need somebody, I know somebody.
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask, who is that?
This is Jason.
Yeah, what's the name of the title company? Thanks, Jason.
His name is gonna be Jake. I'll send you his info. Just send me a message. Just send me. I'm in the hospital right now. I was gonna tell Rob.
Oh man,
doing Zoom.
You're visiting the hospital, or you're
no? I'm in the hospital, bud.
Oh man. Hopefully.
Rob, how do I find you? Oh, how do I find you?
It's Jason Possible.
Okay.
On Facebook.
Facebook. Okay.
Yeah. There we go. There's my bed and everything else, bro.
Are you gonna be okay?
Yes.
I had a
aren't you also
in one of my intestines? So then, yeah, I've been dealing with that. So I checked in finally. I think it happened Thursday, and I checked in finally on Monday afternoon. But here
Mm.
I am, working away, still trying to get deals done.
And out soon, or when do they think you're going to be out?
I don't know. I was on the phone. I joined here, but I was on the phone trying to get this deal closed by my house. I think they're gonna take me for a seat because I've had a migraine because I have migraines a lot, but during this time I took probably like 18 or like 20 um 800 milligram ibuprofens, and it didn't do shit to my migraine with like a span of like 18 hours, like nothing, not a dent or nothing. And usually through the work and it'll go away, but yeah, this is next level pain, bro. And not being able to sleep, and I was delirious and all kinds of stuff, man.
Yeah, I get migraines occasionally as well, and they're not fun at all.
Yeah, so that's life. Tired.
Hopefully you get out soon. And
Yeah, I maybe Friday or Saturday.
all right, well, take it easy.
Oh man, I'm trying to.
Don't be hustling in the hospital. You should be.
I gotta hustle all the time, man. When you're serious, man.
Yeah, I know.
I don't
So
wanna just be sitting around, man. So I might as well work.
yeah, I know it's hard sitting around. I don't like that either. But still, you got to take care of yourself because you don't want to end up being in there for any longer than you have to.
Yeah, I can't. I haven't ate since like Friday, so I'm
Mm.
just now. They're just now giving me like liquids, and I've been like just eating ice chips like I'm pregnant. Crazy.
Um, um,
So good times.
Rob, are you in the Seattle area? What area are you in?
yeah, I'm in Seattle.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Marlene, just shoot me a message, or maybe Rock can connect us, and then I'll shoot you who I mess with, title wise.
Okay. Do you know cash buyers too?
And the big I know Big Money Rob, man. Big Money Rob's gonna fund all my projects this year. I'm gonna do whatever I can for Big Money Rob to fund all my projects. I know a couple, but they're very specific in what they want. They're more institutional buyers instead of normal flippers. So they follow in a very certain set of parameters.
Okay. Well, I know one buyer,
But
but he's like into the burr. He's saying that's his main focus right now. So
I mean, if you want to send me what you got as well, once he connects us, or Rob, just send her my stuff, and then she could just connect. She could just shoot me what she has, and I could just respond to her that way. Because I'm probably gonna have to step out this door here soon and go do my.
or actually, you know what? Why don't you put it? Julio's got some cash buyers also. He just posted into the meeting chat. Actually, so you can put your contact info just right into the meeting chat here if you're able to in Zoom, and Marlena can pull it out of there.
what did Julio say?
Julio says he's got some cash buyers also. He just posted in the
And
chat.
how do I reach out to him?
So can you see the chat, the Zoom chat?
He was there, but he's gone now. I'm off of I'm working on my phone, so.
Oh, you're on your phone.
Yeah.
Okay. I can, are we friends on Facebook?
Well, I don't know about friends. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you could try DMing me on Facebook and I can forward you
Okay.
Julio's contact.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So Brendan hopped on Facebook Live here. I don't know if he's still on or not, but he's doing some driving for dollars in Seattle, which is awesome.
Hey, tell Julio he put his number up too quick. Can he put it back up? He has number.
So there's a way to go. There's a way to go see it. If you click on, there's a little chat.
Oh, I see. Okay. Gotcha.
You can pull it back up.
Okay. Thank you.
So, oh, Brendan's still here. Cool. So, and then he was saying as far as True People Search goes, it works for PO boxes also. So if the owner of a property in the tax records has a PO box listed for their mailing address, you could potentially put that in a True People Search as well and be able to find their contact info. I've kind of had mixed results with True People Search. It works good if the name isn't like super common. If it's super common, then you can get a ton of results back, and it's difficult to find find who the actual owner is, in which case I might try some other skip tracing services that you actually have to pay for in order to get their contact info.
Okay.
So what's going on, Matt? How you doing?
What's up, Rob? How are you?
Good.
I'm glad you're talking about True People Search because I was gonna ask kind of what methods you guys are using to try to find deals. Getting my feet a little bit more wet here, and it's like I don't know if you guys are using Deal Machine and stuff like that, List Source.
Oh, for pulling lists, you mean?
Just yeah, or like when you're finding properties out in the wild.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out what tools are kind of the like highest value for the dollar. If you have any tips.
Yeah, I would encourage you to try to be as creative as possible when coming up with your data. So anything that, because my feeling is that there's so many wholesalers that are hitting up like prop stream lists, batch leads, and pulling lists from there, that it's like these people are probably getting tons of calls, already. So if you can find some other source of data that might indicate some sort of distressed situation for a seller that isn't readily available for somebody just to click a button in PropStream and download, like that would be the way to go. I mean, that's what I would do.
Definitely more like paying attention, like where you're driving, dollars driving kind of would fit kind of, especially like right now.
Yeah, so driving for dollars, I don't know, like, potentially.
Not specifically out there driving, but just pay attention. Like like the one house I was on when I joined the call, I got it, I found it was on the MLS, and now I gotta work through an estate sale, but I'm probably gonna my partner's probably gonna pick that up today. So it's gonna be nice though.
Yeah. But the problem is, it's not driving for dollars is, unless you're hiring people to do it for you, it's really hard to scale that, right? And because this is like a numbers game, right? So getting your eyeballs on as many deals as possible, as many properties as possible, talking to as many sellers as possible. You're kind of like working the funnel down, right? You got your properties and you find your people that are actually interested in selling from there. And so if you're doing driving for dollars, well, here's the thing actually about driving for dollars. This is kind of a mixed bag, right? So you're going to get less properties, but you probably are going to get better quality leads. So I follow this guy on Instagram, and he's like a really big data nerd when it comes to real estate data and finding leads. And he said he did a bunch of driving for dollars, and he said like he was going to pull vacant leads from a bunch of different data sources, right? So these are leads, these are data sources where they say, okay, these properties are vacant. He said whatever source had the most amount of his driving for dollars leads, and there he would just buy the data from that source, right? So he's kind of doing an experiment to see, okay, are these vacant leads like legit? And what he found was hardly any of the driving for dollars properties he found showed up on any of these vacant lead sources, which led him to believe that if you're doing driving for dollars, you're finding stuff that's probably under the radar. So this is potentially a lesson too, is like, okay, if you've got the resources, or if you could hire somebody or pay somebody a referral to do driving for dollars for you, you might be able to contact people that aren't getting hit up by a ton of wholesalers already, right? So it's kind of a trade-off. It's probably going to be a bit harder to scale doing driving for dollars and getting those leads, but those leads are probably going to be a lot better quality than if you were going to be pulling a vacant list or hired landlord list or tax delinquents. Like everybody's hitting those guys up, already, right? So yeah, kind of thinking outside the box too about like where are some other sources of data that where you could find something like I heard some guy like pulling like information about people that were getting incarcerated, right? And then looking them up to see if they had any properties, and I don't know how you would contact them. I don't know if you're in jail. Do you still have access to like a cell phone and stuff like that? Can you even do real estate transactions if you're in jail? I don't know. Actually, I did foreclose on somebody. One of my I owner financed a property. I sold it to somebody on owner financing, and they ended up defaulting. And I was trying to find them to get them current, and it turned out they had been arrested and been in jail for like 3 months. So foreclosure is still a possibility in jail, apparently, but I don't know if actually selling a property is or not. So, but what are you doing so far for lead gen?
On my end,
Yeah,
it's just like dialing canceled expires, absentee owner stuff. Basically what you're saying is like all top of the funnel type lead sources that everybody's going after, and I'm just trying to get into something a little more exclusive.
yeah. Yeah, I mean the expireds, and I don't know, are you guys also pitching like creative finance terms to those sellers as well?
Yeah, we're starting to see not every agent's caught up with the idea of it, but I've got a couple lenders I work with who can structure the, what that scenario might look like, and that's been a pretty powerful tool to, at least kind of steer the conversation in the right direction and get the homeowners thinking a little bit differently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially on those expired listings, obviously there's some motivation there because they had it listed at some point, right? And if price is like the biggest sticking point for them, if they're willing to be flexible on how they get that number, there's potentially some good leads in the expired category. So the challenge with expired, I find, is that as soon as the property goes expired or canceled or whatever, they're getting hammered by agents, right? Everybody wants to like get that listing. Oh, I'm sorry that that agent couldn't sell your house, but I can do it. Let's schedule a meeting and we'll be able to get it done for you. And because I've had my own deals where I had it listed and pulled it off, and like I am just like bombarded with agents calling me. It's crazy. So you kind of like gotta let them cool down a little bit before reaching out to them on those. But I think those are definitely a good source for potentially, doing a creative structure, and especially if it's they're not very flexible on their price. So hey Ty, how's it going? I see you just hopped onto the Facebook Live there. So Jake, Julio, how's it going? See you guys are lurking in the shadows on the Zoom call.
Yeah, just seeing what everybody's doing.
Yeah. What are you up to right now?
So I'm actually in Utah. I'm wholesaling in Utah.
Awesome.
Building, and I'm going to start building them in about a month in Washington and move out there and start doing some deals out there. And so I kind of lurk around you and see what you're doing in Washington. I see you get quite a bit under contract out there.
Yeah. So how's the market in Utah right now?
It's coming back up, actually. I have a lot of agents that I talk to, and they've said that for the past 3 months, they've had a listing, on the MLS for 90 days. And then within 2 weeks, they all of a sudden get 3 offers above asking.
Oh, wow.
So it's starting to turn back up pretty quick here.
Okay. So how much of a hit did the market take there?
It was a little bit. Home prices went down a little bit, but not too much. I feel like we didn't get hit as hard as Washington did.
Mhm. Okay, that's good. So the question is, do you have have you been doing a lot of wholesaling there, or?
Yeah, so I've been wholesaling here for about a year and a half.
Mhm.
I probably close 3 or 4 deals a month.
Okay.
just wholesaling. I want to start looking into getting into STRs and LTRs
Mhm.
out here as well, just because there's so many good rental opportunities out here. And seller finance, everybody and their dog knows about seller finance out here, so it's really easy to push that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. I'm kind of curious, how do properties cash flow there? Like here in Washington, it's a bit tough because prices are so high relative to the rents, but
It's a little tough. A lot of my buyers that are holding long term, they really push for seller financing just because it's a better cash flow. So any property that I know is going to be a long term hold for my buyers, I always try and push a seller financing deal, just because interest rates are still 5.6
yeah.
out here.
Yeah. So are you going to continue wholesaling in Utah even after you move up here?
I'll do a little bit in Utah just because I'm familiar with the area. I have a lot of buyers, but it's not going to be my primary area. I don't know if you saw, I sent you a deal in Spokane, so I'm starting to kind of work my way
Oh,
out
that
there.
was you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have to take a look at my DMs. I get so many DMs that it has probably been buried. And then,
Well, I don't even know if I sent you the address because I just reran the numbers a few times and it just wasn't there. And the seller
Okay.
just wasn't coming down.
okay. So what were their plans for it if they didn't get their price?
Put it on the MLS.
Oh,
And that's what I do. You know, if they're all about price and they don't want seller financing, I'll push the MLS on them.
well, that's how actually I usually start.
Push the MLS.
Yeah, I'm like, why aren't you listing this? Just get that objection right out of the way at the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to give you your best price. You're gonna get your best price if you put this on the MLS, so why aren't you listing it? You know? And then it's like, I don't want people going through my house, or I hate real estate agents, you know, and so try to figure out what the pain point is there and what the aversion is to listing their property, and then kind of using that in negotiation to say like, hey, like I can do this off market, right? But here's where we would need to be on price in order to make that happen. So
Right.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, so as far as the wholesaling in Utah, if it were me, I would totally continue doing that too, if you could, like even after you're up here, because I had been wholesaling remotely in Oklahoma City from Seattle for a while, because I was actually got into wholesaling because I was wanting to find my own deals in Oklahoma as rentals, and then just was starting to come across so many deals and connecting with so many other investors that I just started wholesaling deals to them. And so I was actually wholesaling there for 2 years before I shifted up here to Washington. So if you already have like a really good network there in Utah and you got a robust buyers list and a process and you really know the area very well, there's no reason that, you can't wholesale both up here and continue to, to do deals down there as well. So,
I'll definitely keep doing deals here in Utah.
so that's awesome though. So are you moving to Seattle area or east
No,
side?
So my wife actually wants some land, and so we're going to be buying land just on the outskirts of Centralia,
Okay.
and we're going to build. Yeah, it's like we're getting like 90 acres, and we're going to build like a little homestead so she can garden and farm all she wants, and then I can have my little office and do my thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a pretty nice area. Probably about a little over an hour or so outside, maybe an hour and a half from Seattle, I guess. So
Yeah, not too bad. And she has family in Vancouver right now.
yeah, well, I was just gonna say, if you're in Centralia, you kind of got the option of doing deals in Seattle or the Portland, Vancouver
Mhm.
area as well. So
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty good.
what are you doing for your as far as your marketing and finding deals?
So here in Utah, driving for dollars is really, really good.
Mhm.
I use batch leads as well. I started a new service that I'm testing out right now called Privy.
I know Privy, yeah.
Yeah, so and the reason why I'm using Privy is because they have a deal with the MLS here in Utah since it's a non-disclosure state. I don't have my license. It's kind of hard to run ARVs and comps, and Privy really helps me with that because they've made a deal with the MLS.
Mhm.
They can get non-disclosure data.
Yeah, so the reason I played with Privy a bit here, but they don't have access to MLS data here, so it's not as useful. My acquisition manager is licensed though, so we're able to pull comps from directly from the MLS that way. But yeah, I know a number of people in other markets are using Privy, and it looks super useful. If in the markets that they have the MLS access to access to the MLS data, and so
Yeah, I jumped on a call probably about 2 weeks ago with the CEO Benson and with a guy named Nathan Payne out here in Utah, and we kind of talked about Privy a little bit. And he said that his goal is to eventually get data, whether it's non-disclosure state or disclosure state, throughout all 50 states. So that way,
Yeah.
all your resources in one.
yeah, I'm in a mentorship group that Benson has come on the calls a few times, and he's saying like eventually they're going to get most of the major MLS systems on board, but he's saying that there's some MLSs that they're not going to be able to convince for whatever reason to share their data. So it'll be interesting to see what markets they're able to actually integrate and which ones aren't. But hopefully in most of the major metro areas they'll be able to do.
Well, and that's what I was gonna chime in with Marlena if she's looking for buyers. I found Privy to be a pretty useful tool to find cash buyers. And you can see what I like about it is you can see exactly, before and after and who's bought it and what they bought it at, what type of ARV they're looking for. So I think it's a pretty useful tool, at least for cash buyers, if anything.
Yeah.
Is
So
there a cost for that?
What's that?
Is there a cost for Privy?
There is, yeah. I think it's like $70 a month.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
yeah.
But you think it's worth it?
I mean, it's something that you'd have to determine for yourself. I found it to be worth it for me.
Yeah.
Just because here in the state of Utah, they have non-disclosure data.
Oh, okay. Okay. But Rob, you said that's not here in Seattle, in Washington?
Yeah, so that's a question for you, Jake. So in the areas that they don't have the MLS data, is that buyer info still available and relevant? So you're able to see still like what percent of ARV, who's buying and what percent of ARV are they buying for?
I know you can see who is still buying it, who has bought it and who has flipped it. But I think in non-disclosure areas, it's more like prop stream where they kind of estimate. They look at what it was listed at before it went off the market. And so I think in non-disclosure states, it's more of an estimate of what they bought it at and what they're selling it at.
So Washington isn't a non-disclosure state. This is an interesting thing. So we can see who paid what.
Perfect.
Yeah, but they just don't have the MLS data. So I'm kind of curious, is Privy still able to determine if somebody is an investor? Is Privy still able to determine on any particular property that was bought or sold, if it was a investor that bought it, and then what percent of ARV they had paid for it?
Yeah, if it's a non-disclosure state, then definitely they'd be able to see it and they'd put it on there.
Okay, all right. So maybe I have to play with it again. I played with it. So I'm part of Jamil Damji's mentorship group too, and they push Privy pretty hard. And so when they first started advertising it, I checked it out, and I was like, "Oh, this to me didn't look any different than PropStream,"
Right.
which I was using and I have been using for a while. So I was like, because they didn't have the MLS access here, and so I was like, doesn't really seem to be anything different than what I'm using right now. So, but maybe I'll take another look at it and see. It's kind of interesting the progression of tools that they've pushed over the last 3 years. Originally, they started out as PropStream is the tool to be using, and then they were pushing batch batch leads really hard for pulling comps and finding buyers and all that stuff, and that's gone silent now. And now it's all about Privy and
Yep.
Privy for finding buyers and finding deals. So
And I still use all three, but you know,
I used to do all three as well. So
I think I do like PropStream the best just because I'm definitely the most familiar with it because that's what I started out on.
Mhm. And are you using that primarily for finding buyers or for pulling data to
I think
find
you're PropStream.
PropStream?
PropStream, I kind of just use it to pull lists because it seems like, you know, not a whole lot of people use PropStream anymore is kind of what it seems like.
Definitely, it's not as popular as it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And I mean, I've pulled lists from batch leads and everybody has called every list on batch leads like 10 times.
Yeah. So you feel like the data that's getting pulled from PropStream is different than the lists that get pulled from batch leads?
I think I would feel like it's more quality just because less people have hit those lists.
Interesting. My guess would have been that, like, if you're pulling a tax delinquent list, for example, you'd get a lot of the same data between those two
One,
platforms.
it's weird. It's weird because they do have different data and Privy has different data too. They all have a little bit different data.
Interesting.
Yeah, is what I found.
Okay. Yeah, I have never pulled a list from batch, but I did PropStream list for quite a while when I
Jake, how much is batch leads?
Shoot, I can't remember. Batch leads, what is it? Rob, is it like I want to say 60?
yeah, I want to say it was around 50 when I was playing with it. And then PropStream, I think, is around 100.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do know I do use batch leads for skip tracing. They have pretty good data for skip tracing at least.
Okay, thanks.
And how much do they charge for skip tracing? Yeah.
It's 12 cents a skip trace.
Okay.
And I think if you sign up, you get like a 2-week trial and you get like 5,000 free skip traces.
Okay. Yeah, I'd been using Lead Sherpa for skip tracing, and it's a bit more expensive. They charge, I think, 15 cents per skip. But the thing I like about them, and I don't know if Batch does this as well, if you submit a list and then you submit another list at a future point, if you've already skip traced a name or address in that list previously, they'll just return you what they previously found. They won't charge you again for finding that. So potentially, like, if you're getting, you're pulling lists periodically, or you're pulling two different lists and somebody shows up on both those lists, you're not having to pay for duplicate skips.
Yeah, that's nice. I don't know if batch leads does that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then the challenging thing is always the challenging thing is the LLCs, skip tracing those. There's not like a reliable way to do it. Like Lead Sherpa says they'll do it, but it's not very accurate. And I don't know about how you've gone about doing that, but the only way I found to really be reliable is actually having to go look up the governors, that LLC, the members, like in corporates or the Secretary of State website or something like that, and then skip trace, those people.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have to do for LLC still.
Yeah, so it's still a pretty manual process. Could be good for like a virtual assistant or something, but
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I'm also using Investor Lift for finding buyers.
Okay. Yeah.
And their system is a little more friendly, I guess, as far as that goes. So you could basically set up a search parameter around property, say like within 5 miles, it will show you everybody that's done a flip there within some period of time. You can set that time frame. And then if you find an LLC that did the flip, it will actually try to go out to open corporates and find the members of that LLC. And then from there, it will skip trace. You can have it just skip trace them automatically. Or the other really cool thing is if some other Investor Lift subscriber already skip traced that buyer or those members, it will just provide you those phone numbers for free. You don't have to go and skip trace them again.
Oh, that's actually really nice.
Yeah,
What's it called, Rob?
that's called Investor Lift, and that's pretty pricey. It starts at like $500 a month.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's kind of like a whole dispo platform. Like you have access to a bunch of buyers on there already. It does email blasts, it does text message blasts, it's got an integrated website, so you post your deals onto their platform where a bunch of other off-market stuff. So automatically email the buyers, other buyers out of state can see it, like if they're buying deals here. So there's a lot of nice things about it for sure.
mm.
Yeah, definitely not a cheap platform. And then other subscriptions that go up to like $3,000 a month, depending on what it is that you want to do and how many buyers you have and that sort of thing. So
So I need to do a lot of deals for that little. for
just
that
need one
site.
deal.
Well, okay, one good one. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, one deal, you get do a deal, you got like enough capital there to pay for a year subscription to Investor Lift, right? Then you start posting your deals there, you start building your momentum as far as number of buyers that you got seeing your deals, so
Step by step, right?
step by step, yeah.
Mhm.
So Daniel on Facebook is saying, how many MLS offers do you make and how many deals from those offers? So I'm not doing nearly as many MLS offers as we were before the market first took off and then tanked. So we're only doing a handful of MLS offers right now, and we're not locking up very many MLS deals at the moment. Before the market had taken off pre-COVID, we were doing like 70 to 100 offers a month on the MLS, and maybe locking up and selling 2 to 3 of those a month. And I had that process completely automated through Podio. So the MLS data was coming into Podio, which is our CRM. And then I had my VA comp everything that came in, and then it would send me an alert if something was, at like 75% of ARV or better on the list price. Then I would go comp that manually. If it looked like a deal, I'd hit a button, it would generate an MLS offer, I'd give it to my agent, and then he would send it off to the listing agent, and then we try to lock it up that way. But MLS is tough right now because the sellers are still kind of unrealistic on what they're wanting for it. So maybe once things start returning to normal a little more, we're gonna be hitting that a little harder. And I've been working on trying to automate that process here for the Seattle area as well. So and then Lisa's saying, talking about the LLC ownership, yeah, being public information. Yeah, it gets kind of hard when the LLC is owned by another LLC, and there's some states where they don't have to disclose who the officers of the LLC are, like Wyoming, the officers are private, you can't see them. I think Delaware might be another state, Delaware, Nevada. So there's some LLCs that you're not going to find out who the actual owner is for them. So fortunately, it's not too many of those that you come across. Hey, Nikki, how's it going? She just hopped on the Facebook here. So what else you guys got? I got a few more minutes here before the noon hour. Any other final questions, thoughts?
Rob, are you guys ever doing any sort of land deals where you can get some sort of forced appreciation through like entitlement or that sort of process?
So you're talking about buying for myself or wholesaling a land deal?
Either or, yeah.
So I do work with a guy out of Phoenix who specializes in land deals specifically, and sometimes they will put the money in to do the entitlements, and the return on doing that is sometimes like 10x the money they put into it. So they just did a deal where I think they put like 40K into doing entitlements for the land, and then they ended up being able to wholesale it for like a 400K assignment fee. So yeah, we actually have a land deal locked up right now that we're in the process of wholesaling. So it's definitely not my specialty for sure, but I'm not gonna turn down a land deal if I come across one. And so we've had a number that we've worked like in Pierce County, so we've got a pretty good list of builders in our database now that we've talked to on some of those deals. So now, like anything we get in Tacoma, we're like, okay, let's take a look at it. We've got like at least 24 builders that, you know, we have relationships with now at the point that we can give a call up and say, hey, is this something you'd be interested in? If it is, like, and sometimes I'll run it by a few of these builders too, to say, because we don't necessarily know where a deal has to be locked up at, you know, because like determining the value of a land deal is a bit tricky because there's a lot of, well, you could say that for a single family house too, right? It's just a different set of criteria that's going to determine the value of that land, right? Like access, where are the utilities at, what is the zoning, what's the density, you know, all these various pieces. And, you know, like we got a deal that we thought was a really good deal. It was like 12 acres, it's zoning 4 houses per acre. You know, we could probably get at least 35 houses on this thing. This looks like a screaming deal. I just want like tax assessed value for it. And then we talked to a bunch of builders and they all came back and like, yeah, you got to run like the sewer line 1,000 feet, you know, from the closest point where it is now. And that alone is going to kill the deal at the price that it's at right now. Right. So there's a number of things to kind of take into account when you're looking at a land deal that's completely different, makes it a completely different animal when from a single family house deal. But what I've seen is like land deals, they can just be crazy assignment fees because some of these sellers just want, like they've owned this thing for 20 years, they're not doing anything with it, they're just paying taxes on it. I've had a number of sellers just say, I just want the tax assessed value for it, you know, and tax assessed value is like usually like super low compared to what the property is actually worth, right? That being said, I just had the deal somebody sent me in Edmonds last week where the tax assessed value is probably twice what the property is actually worth, and the seller's wanting the tax assessed value. So this is like probably the first deal I've come across where it's like way higher than what it's worth. So I think the seller on that is just gonna end up trying to list the property. I don't think they're gonna get what they want for it, but yeah. So if you have a land deal, you know, you want me to take a look at it and see, you know, what I think, you know, you might be able to get for it, I'd be happy to do that. And that kind of goes for anybody on the call too. Like if you've got a deal that you want a second pair of eyes on an opinion, the worst thing to do is just lock something up and having it be way too high, because it's going to be really hard in a lot of circumstances to go back and try to reset the seller's expectations on there. So it's always better to go in and make sure those expectations are set right the first time you go in there and talk to the seller, rather than locking up something way too high and then it being this huge uphill battle to try to get a price reduction at price that will actually work to wholesale it. So
Hey, Rob, remember I was telling you about that property? No, the agent sent me this that said that it was estimated around 537,000 on the MLS, but currently on Redfin it's 512. And like I said, it needs so much work and everything. So I don't know how, I mean, that's a big, I don't know, that's a big number to me for that house right now.
yeah, well, first thing I would say is throw out any number you get from Redfin or Zillow or Realtor.com. Those numbers are shit. Like,
Okay.
do not. Sellers will use those numbers, but don't even waste any time with those numbers. The only websites I would use to get a rough estimate of what the ARV might be is Pelago. And I don't know if you're familiar with this website. So Pelago.com, they're a real estate brokerage based in Seattle. And they're using machine learning and AI and all this stuff to generate their ARVs. They're able to determine, they look at their comps, they can determine which of their comps have been flips, and they will give those properties higher weights in their ARV calculation. So I use Pelago a lot to just get a very, very, very quick and dirty assessment of the ARV. And so for like single family houses, it's a pretty good rough approximation, but like Zillow, Redfin, all those websites, I wouldn't go off at all.
Well, he said the MLS, he got the 537.
I'm not sure where MLS gives you that estimate. I haven't seen that in the MLS.
Okay, well, maybe I don't know, then he might have got
Unless he ran the comps, unless he meant he ran the comps himself, pulling comps out of the MLS.
Oh, yeah. Estimated. He said estimated. Around.
Yeah. So how big is the house?
I think it's like 12. Well, it's got 2 bedroom, 1 bath. 3,267.
3,000 is 2 bed, 1 bath.
No, I'm sorry. The home is 690. The lot, the square footage on the lot is 3,267.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. So yeah, that's a pretty small house. And what area of Seattle is it in?
The south end of Seattle.
Okay. Yeah. So 500 is probably pushing it at the high end for ARV, I would think, on a house that small and on a lot that small. So on a lot that small, you can't, if the lot was like 5,000 square feet or bigger, potentially you could put like an accessory dwelling unit on it, right? And that would bump up the ARV a bit. But that lot's small, the house is small. So I don't even know if 500 ARV would be sufficient. So kind of as a general rule of thumb, like if ARV is 500, I would probably want to lock this up for half of that. So
Like 250. Half of.
Yeah.
Wow. I wish I had a mini Rob in my pocket right now. Oh my goodness. I think that's the thing. I'm just getting past the first deal. You kind of have that fear factor going on, and you're like, I don't know, because the agent said the woman was very abrupt with him. So I'm thinking I don't want her to be screaming at me or mad, but
Once you're in this for a long time, Marlena, you're gonna see that these values really ain't really the values, man.
Yeah.
It's an eye opener for sure. What things are really worth. You have ARV, you have market value, and market value is pretty much what somebody's actually going to pay for, whether it's a wholesaler or developer. Those kind of fall into. I look at those more or less a market value compared to like ARV and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a process. You're gonna get there though.
Yeah.
First so put on my best armor where I have and go in, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first step in this is just trying to have a conversation with the seller, right? Don't even worry about the offer price at this point. Like, just see if
Okay.
they're open to having a conversation with you. Right. And the whole goal is to just build rapport with the seller, get friendly with them. And even if they're not ready to sell their place right now, like, if you can at least just establish just a small relationship with them where they like you,
Uh-huh.
then the thing is, you can always follow up with them again, like in a month or 2 months, just check in with them, see how it's going. And if they're familiar with you and comfortable with you, like when they're ready to sell, they'll probably give you first shot at locking it up, right?
Okay. Okay.
Right. So don't worry about just going in there and just trying to lock it up for 250, like right off the bat. I think the goal would be just to see if they're open to having a conversation about it, right?
Right. Okay.
Finding out what it is that they want. Like, is this property causing a problem for them? Like, your whole goal in this and in wholesaling is you're trying to provide a solution to a problem that this property is causing them. And maybe it's a cash offer, maybe it's a creative finance deal, maybe it's, listing the property, so. But the whole idea is like, see if you can get them talking and then find out what the story is with them and with this property, I just start really small. Just don't even worry about like wholesaling this thing and finding buyers and all that stuff. Just try to get a hold of these sellers or these owners and find out what the story is here. So,
Okay. Have you ever heard of Smart Infinity Investments?
no. Are they wholesalers?
LLC?
No. Are they
Well,
wholesalers?
I don't know. Their name is on this other property that I was looking at, but it's somewhere on 34th in Seattle. Where the company, but then when I went to look them up on Google, it's like an Arizona or some other location. I'm like, that's interesting. So
Mhm.
it seemed like when there's an investment company involved, it's harder to get through, right? LLC.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, you never know. It could be like a tired landlord just holding their property in an LLC. So, or it could,
Oh, okay. Okay.
so yeah, Lisa's saying at 500K ARV, she wouldn't pay more than 300, and 300 might be overpriced too. Like, if it needs 100K in work and the exit strategy is to flip it, you're all in for 400 plus financing costs, plus transaction costs. There's not much meat there, even at 300 for somebody. If you're gonna turn it into a rental, then maybe that would work. But it's all going to come down to like how much work it needs and what the exit strategy is. But yeah, 300 would be absolute max on that. Although if it's like 650 square feet, how much money can you put into a 650 square foot property? I don't know. Hopefully not $100,000, but you never know, I guess, depending on what's going on there. So, all right,
Well,
guys.
thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So stop in next week.
See you guys next week. Hopefully I won't be in the hospital still.
Yeah, you better be out by Friday. So
Yeah, let's hope so.
take care of yourself, Jason.
Yeah,
So
Take care, Jason.
thanks. Yeah, send me a message on Facebook Messenger, Marlene, and I'll try to connect you with my guy.
all right, cool.
Okay. Well,
See you guys later.
okay.
All right. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.